Hello class. So today I am looking at how to set up some simple audio reactivity in your project. And here, this network is what we will be building today. This is an example of the finished version. If I play the audio here, okay, so you can see, let me just turn that volume down a little bit. So you can see how the incoming audio here is going into this component, and then we're just doing some processing of the signal into 3 different channels, right? And then that data is getting sent, in this case, to this hexagon here. And if I go into its parameters, you can see how the numbers up here in the corner are changing depending on the reference that I'm giving it. And just a quick additional demonstration here. So further down the line, I've got a component here that I've set up some more effects in. So if I switch to that, okay, so you can see how just like a simple shape like this with some audio reactivity, we can create a nice visualization. So here is my empty project. I've left some comments throughout just so we sort of have the scaffolding of what to fill in. But let's start from the beginning. So in this case, I'm going to load an audio file. And for that, I need an operator called an audio file in. So to get any operator, we can press Tab, which pulls up the operator create dialog. In this case, the audio in lives in this family. This is the chops, or channel operators. And here you can see audio file in. Okay, so by default, it plays a file that comes with Touch Designer, but you'll notice that it does not play any sound by itself. Now, this is common for stuff in Touch Designer, that it never works right out of the box. And that's simply because there are a lot of options for what you could do with this audio file, either before you send it out or where you send it out. You can imagine if you're building an installation with, a whole bunch of speakers, maybe you want to send different sounds to different speakers in the room. So what we need is a audio device out. And again, I'm going to go to my operator create dialog, and I'm looking for audio device out. So you can see there's nothing connected, so it's saying not enough sources. That's fine. I can check up here. It looks like it's going to go out of my laptop speakers. That's all good. Let's connect it. So I'm now clicking on the output of this audio file in, and I'm just going to drag it to this first input here, which is source. Okay, and you can see now the sound is coming out of my speakers. I'm going to go ahead and bring that volume down a bit. Okay, so good. We have a sound source. Now we need something that can sort of pull it apart and analyze it so that we can use that data to control something. Okay, let's go to what we're going to control. So in this case, really simple piece of graphics, but this could be anything, okay? This could be a video that you bring in, or some other generative thing you create here in Touch Designer. In this case, I'm going to go with circle, right? Which is just a, well, it's a circle. So this will be the goal, is to try to make this thing change. And yeah, let's bring in our component now. So we're going to be using a built-in component, which can be found under Tools. Now you could build your own audio analysis component. It's not that difficult once you get the hang of it, but for the purposes of this class and in the spirit of these tutorials, I'm trying to keep things nice and easy. Right, so this is a pre-built component. It has a UI screen, which we'll get to in a second. But the first step would be to connect the audio from the file to the input of this thing. All right, so that's still not doing a whole lot. We can activate the UI panel, because if you try to click on this, you'll find that it doesn't actually do anything. And that's because by default, it's deactivated. So here you can see I've written to make the UI active, click on the little cross in the bottom right corner of the component. So that's this, and that's viewer active. So now this becomes interactive. So we can now, for example, enable, right now it's only low enabled. I can enable mid and high. And if you remember back in digital audio class, this refers to different frequencies, right? So the bass, the mids, and the high frequencies. There's additional channels here for kick, snare, rhythm. These are more for analyzing drums. So like, let's say if we turn up the kick. So this is going to trigger anytime that the low kick drum hits. Now, we might have to adjust this for whatever piece of music, is coming in. And that's why there's all these controls. But let's leave it as it is for now. I'm going to turn the viewer off just by toggling here. Okay, good. So we have some audio coming in. And it is being analyzed. The next step is to see what it is that this thing is outputting. So a good general rule is to always set up a null as the final destination for whatever it is you're going to be sending. You'll see in a second why that is useful, but I'm going to go ahead and add one. Now I'm going to stop for a second here to talk about adding operators in general. So the simplest approach, is to pull up our operator create, look for whatever it is. You can also type it in, so null, null, and it'll highlight just that, which can be useful because frankly, the UI here is not the most friendly, right? It's Touch Designer is not one of those cuddly, friendly programs. Okay, so we have a null, and we could take the output here, output into null, and you can see now these are the actual values coming in. So low, mid, and high, and the other ones are 0 because they're not enabled. So this is fine. We can definitely add an operator like that. Let's look at one more way we can do it. We can actually right-click on that output and select null, and now it'll automatically drop it with a wire. Okay. So at this point, you could pretty much just plug these values into whatever parameters on this circle, right? And I'll show you the general way that we what's called reference any parameter, or sorry, rather reference any value, because we'd call these values coming in. Okay, so what we would do is you'd make the viewer active. Now you'll notice you get this green highlight, and that means that's the one you're going to select. You would usually, select the operator that you're going to drag the value to. So in this case, let's say we take the low frequencies, and what I'm doing now is I'm clicking and dragging, and I'm going to drag it onto the word radius, right? And that's going to establish a connection. I would go chop reference, right? Always pick chop reference. Okay, so we've created, you know, a reference there. It's not great, but at least it's working. So the issue here is that we're just feeding in raw data, right? And whatever values are coming out of this thing might not be appropriate for what we need in our graphics. So really what we need to do is process the data a bit. You know, maybe multiply it, smooth it out, limit it, whatever, you know, reset the range so that it fits with whatever we're trying to accomplish. Okay, so first of all, to do that, what we need to do is break all these values apart into separate streams. So instead of having all of them in one operator, we could have separate branches for each one. So I'm going to create 3 branches. I'll start with low, and then I'll probably just copy paste whatever I make. Okay, so as I said with the null, we'll move that over because that's going to be an endpoint. And now to add something along the, you know what, I'm just going to turn this music down a little more because I think we get the idea now. Okay, it's still playing. And this final output volume does not actually affect what's going into the audio analysis, by the way. Right? Okay, so what we need here is we need a way to pull them apart. And what I'm going to do is right-click on this wire. That allows me to insert an operator, like inline. Here I will drop a select. Okay, and a select pretty much does what you would expect. It lets you select a specific channel. So you know what, let's move this over so it makes sense with my comments. So actually the first thing I did was I dropped in null. So I'll insert another operator here where it says null. Yeah, so the null shows us all the available channels. That's usually good practice. And then the next step would be to select the channel you want. All right, so I have my select, and in the select, I can go to channel names. I can either type it in, or in the flyout arrow, it'll give me a list of all the possible choices. So in this case, I want to pick low. And now you can see that instead of having all these channels, this is now just low, right? The values that are coming in from the bass in the music. Okay, so our circle is still looking very jittery, right? Not very pleasant. So the next thing we're going to do is try to change these values, and we're going to use something called a math operator. The math is sort of just like a multi-function kind of Swiss Army knife math operator that can do all kinds of functions. So the main goal here is to fit this value or this range of values, right, into a more appropriate range. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to once again click on this wire with a right click, insert operator, and I'm going to add a math. All right, so the first step is to, well, let's just take a look around. So we can apply various operations to the numbers as they're coming in, right? We can multiply, we can add to them or subtract. And then this here is what we're going to use. This is just what we call remapping the range. So to get this to work properly, you sort of need to figure out the numbers that are coming in. And in this case, it looks like about 0.4 is the maximum. There is a better way to figure this out, but I'm just going to eyeball it. It looks about right. So from 0 to 0. Let's say 4, And now the remapping is what we want it to change to. Now this might not always be obvious. For this, we can take a look at our circle and see what it is that we want to do. So let's say, first thing I'll do is drag this number down maybe, or I'll input it. So 0.2. Okay, and that's looking, a little better. It's fitting in the box more so. But maybe I want the opposite. Maybe I want it to be big, and whenever the base hits, the circle gets smaller, right? Like it's getting punched. So maybe I'll flip these values around. So 0.2 to 0.01. Okay, so that, I've remapped that value now so that it sits better with whatever it is that I'm trying to achieve. Okay, so let's move this down the line. We got one more operator to add, but in the meantime, you'll notice now it can be a bit annoying because we're trying to look at what we're doing in this final, graphics operator, but we sometimes have to move to other parts of our network and then move back, and that can be frustrating. So a good thing you can do is, whatever you're interested in, you can go down here to the bottom of the operator and click display. What that does is it shows the output in the background. And now anywhere we go, we can see what we're doing. While I'm here, actually, that circle is very low resolution. And so let's take a second here to go over to the common tab and just make it a little more hi-fi. So instead of 256, we'll go 1024. All right, and that's looking a little crisper. Okay, so the next stop on our journey here is the lag operator. And what this operator is going to do is going to smooth out the changes between the values. This is similar to adding easing in After Effects. And so again, I'm going to click on this wire, do a right click, insert, and I'm looking for lag. And as soon as I drop this, it starts to feel a little more organic, right? So what we'll do, I would like it to increase instantly, so that this first lag value up here is the change when the values are increasing, and the second one is when they're decreasing. So I think this is right. Let me just try it this way. Okay, it's still pretty jittery. Let me try and flip that the other way, see if that helps. Yeah, that's a bit better. Let's maybe take a look at our analysis and see if maybe we can smooth this out a little bit more coming in. So I do see a smooth here. Maybe that will help. Maybe if we raise the threshold. Okay, so without wasting too much time here, you could see that smoothed that out a little bit just by changing those values. Let's move on. So we have the base now like pulsating this circle. And what I'm going to do is, now that I have this whole chain set up, like the selecting the channel, doing a bit of math, applying some easing. That's pretty much all I'm doing, right? And then I'm sending the value out somewhere, in this case to the circle's radius, the size. All right, so I'm going to now do a right click and drag, and that's how we can create a selection box. Now all 5 of these operators are selected. I'm going to do a copy paste, so Control C, Control V, You can see Touch Designer has automatically added a new branch coming out of here. Okay, so in this case, the value, it's redundant, right? Because it's just picking low again. But what I can do is go to the select on this second lane here, and I'm going to erase low and select, let's say, mid. Okay, so this now represents the middle frequencies of the music. We'll skip over this math and lag for now, just because I'm not even sure what we're going to do yet. So let's plug it in somewhere, and then we'll adjust it based on whatever is happening. Okay, so yeah, let me back up. So first thing, remember, whenever you're doing a reference, you've got to activate the viewer. And in this case, you notice I haven't even selected the circle, so I can't see its parameters. But Touch Designer is smart enough that if you drag it onto the circle, it'll pop open the parameters for the circle. So for the mids of the music, let's go the alpha of the fill. Okay, so that's working, but again, the value is not great, right? It's too low. So I need to remap it so that, let's say, it pushes all the way to 1, so the alpha is fully opaque. So we'll go to the math, right? And in this case, yeah, I'll assume that the range coming in is the same, and we'll just remap the out range. So let's say 0.1 is the minimum, and 1 full maximum is the output. That's looking better. Yeah, that is looking better. Maybe we'll remap it a bit to be a little higher minimum. Okay, so that is now working. Let's do one more. So I'm going to, once again, do a right click and drag. Copy paste, right? Because this is all good. Once again, I'm going to the select, and we're going to now pull out another channel. So I'm going to delete mid and go to the list and pick high. All right. So once again, let's just plug it in, and then we'll tweak it based on whatever's showing up on screen. So activate the viewer, drag the value, and in this case, we'll pick border width, which might not show up right away. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so this is all messed up. Okay. So first of all, let's change our colors. The border color, let's go blue. Now the whole thing turned blue. That's just because the border is way too big. So I'll go to math and turn this way down. I can use the value ladder here. Pull that down, and yeah, that's looking better. Yeah, so this one you could see that you need a very, very fine adjustment to get this right? Because the border is very sensitive. So depending on the parameter you're trying to control, you're going to need like a different range of numbers. That's what I'm trying to instill here. Okay, good. And that fill color, let's pick, maybe pink. Okay, so that's actually looking okay now. All right, so I mean, generally speaking, that's we have an audio reactive visualization. Not the most interesting thing in the world right now, but at least it works. So let's just mess around a little bit more. If you've made it this far, I hope you get the basics of how this works. The main idea is, this could be anything in your installation, any layer of your animation or any effect. And this music track, if you want to load in a different music track, right, we can click on audio file in, and this plus symbol here, we'll just pull up a browser. So I'm just going to navigate to another track here. Grab this one. Anytime you want to restart the track, you could pulse this. That'll restart the music. This will restart it from a specific point. Okay. There's a lot of options here on the music player. Yeah, well, you know what? Let's wrap it up there because we got a lot of other things to worry about. So there you have it, basic audio reactivity. Hope you guys enjoyed that.